Great. Well, it's a real pleasure to be here. On behalf of HL7 and the HL7 community, I want to say thank you. It's been a delightful experience here with Experience Days. And what I'm going to share with you today is opportunities for collaboration between HL7 and IHE. I'm pleased to be co-presenting with my colleague here, Jürgen. We are compatriots in this effort. I'm going to start, and then I will pass the microphone over to him to wrap up. So we're speaking about something that we call Project Gemini. And for those of you who are familiar, Gemini, a constellation of the zodiac, from the Latin meaning twins, because a fitting name for two organizations, HL7 and IHE, who for many outsiders, those who may not be actively involved, the organizations appear very similar, to be working on similar problem spaces and even sometimes quite a bit of overlap between the people that are involved in these organizations. And so we chose this label in part for that recognition that we really have a common shared mission to advance interoperability of health data. And in particular, with the rising use and adoption and spread of FHIR, we recognized that we needed to find additional opportunities and approaches to work collaboratively together. Gemini was established back in 2018, and we have some history of projects that have been run under this umbrella. But in 2022, we did a little bit of, nice save, thank you, a little bit of a refresh of the program, and I'm going to share with you a little bit of those details now. So we host a website where you can learn a little bit more about what's going on in Gemini on the HL7 Confluence page. If you just search for Gemini, or there's a link on the main page there, it lists both sort of the governance structure, which involves the steering committee, chaired jointly by representatives from IHE and from HL7, myself and Jürgen, as well as Chris Carr and Diego Kaminker form the steering committee. And we've set out a set of processes by which projects from both communities can be raised up for consideration to be run as a joint project. And we'll speak about how and why you might want to do that. But the impetus for this collaboration is a recognition that both organizations need to have agility as we find FHIR spreading throughout emerging areas, as we find the needs of the industry evolving more rapidly. We want, as standards development organizations, to be responsive to those needs, in particular from the implementer community, because ultimately we recognize that to the greatest extent possible, we need to close the gap between simply having a specification for an interoperability problem and having solutions deployed in the marketplace that help enable the services and capabilities of people and delivery systems to make those capabilities real. And joining forces is important because knowledge for solving these problems resolves in both organizations, and the continuum from the idea of a specification through development of that, through testing and deployment, relies on the knowledge that resides in both organizations. So a Gemini project is a project that is shared amongst both IHE and HL7. We identify a primary home or a host organization for that project, depending on the type or the stage of the advancement. And the actual standards development governance for that project relies on whoever the host organization is, and its publishing destination becomes, part of that host organization. But it's clear that the entire project itself is a joint work. And every product, every deliverable, every specification that comes through this pipeline gets stamped with a joint Gemini logo and a disclaimer that explains how this thing is the result of collaborative effort. So how do we enact that? So as a steering committee, some of our job is to help spread the word about this as a possibility of ways for projects to get involved. We help identify where there may be common priorities among the communities of both organizations, and then identify and connect leaders throughout the organizations, whether work groups or technical committees, steering committees, et cetera, who may be important for advancing this work in both organizations. The projects are developed with a work plan that is intentionally designed to use resources and processes of both organizations to the greatest extent possible. Again, residing in a home organization, but being welcome and opening to all participants. And then also to communicate and share the outcomes of these collaborations through forums like this, through forums such as HL7's working group meetings, where in New Orleans, Jürgen and I has similar sessions and sort of spread the word. So we're very pleased to be working so closely together along this common mission, and I will now pass it over to my colleague Jürgen.
Yeah, thank you, Dan. I mean, basically he said it, so you can stop. No, no, seriously. You know, the reason why Gemini was founded in 2018 was because at that time there was a bit of a, you know, it was a fact finding the positions of the different organizations a bit was a challenge. And we had the feeling, as some people had the feeling, that this needed to change because collaboration is always better than competition in the standards development and not in the market. But collaboration requires honesty and fairness. And that's why it came up to this idea to create this program. It's actually a program, not a project. Projects are the things within, but to create this program, Gemini, with this logo Gemini and the disclaimer and so on, and the spirit behind it. And the spirit behind it is, in both organizations lie assets. Both organizations have their products, if you want, you know, like FHIR resources, something, you know, and IHE has profiles and test tools and these things. And we thought it's probably best to simply unite these forces and make the best out of it, and create this. And it says on this slide, honest dissemination and credits, because I mean, the standards development people are actually a bunch of nerds, to be honest, you know, and they work as crazy without payment for weeks, you know, and so this honesty and, you know, and giving at least the credits for the work, that's very, very important, and we really try to explain that in both organizations, once a project has become a Gemini project, that this is meant serious, and that this is mutual invitation to cooperate and collaborate and make this thing a common joint thing where everyone feels that's also mine, you know, that and that's why the disclaimer. And now maybe from a different perspective, a little bit from outside, you know, this was all like what we do internally, but why are we doing that, you know? If you come from outside and you're some sort of country, global entity of a commissioner, whoever, you know, someone who really needs to accomplish a huge task, which involves interoperability challenges. And you know that you actually should perhaps work somehow together with the standards development organizations. From that perspective, you would like to get one door to push your requirements to, you know, and what you get out of it at the end is some package like this, where everything is in it what you need. So basically, everything is in it what you need to implement that stuff in your country, area, region, and so on. So, but this is more than just, you know, a resource or just a test tool or just it's a seamlessly fitting together set of things. Some of which are more in the HL7 domain, some of which are more in the IHE domain, and actually they should fit perfectly together. So how can you achieve that? Only if you really create them together, and that's the principle. So at the end of the day, we would like to make the standards community, I say it, family maybe, ready for receiving such requirements, more and more easy, so to speak, work on them with all the force we have together to bring out results like white papers, profiles, implementation guides, and the test tools fitting to it and so on as a package to the users, because that's why we are actually here. Just to name a few of the up and running Gemini projects at the moment. We have something on devices. We have a very important one, which is called FHIR in a multi-domain architecture, because that's an unsolved problem where everyone's sort of in need if they really want to seriously implement FHIR in a larger scale environment. Here we have a huge technical problem to solve. So this is, for example, hosted in HL7 FHIR infrastructure group. And the other group, which we always call the accompanying group, is in that case the IHE IT infrastructure. The first thing which is done here is a white paper to wrap the problem up. But there will be follow-ups, I guess, like IHE profiles for specific use cases, which, you know, carve some parts of it out to make it ready for the vendors to implement, you know, and test and put it to the market. And the other thing, which is also, I believe, very important, is medication prescription and delivery. It's more or less the entire, it's not less than the entire e-prescribing dispensing process. And it will be further extended later by administration, planning, and all of that. So the entire thing, which is actually standardized right now, but on the basis of XDS and CDA. And we want to basically redo that based on most recent knowledge and fully based on FHIR. I would say native FHIR, meaning just FHIR resources, but also just FHIR RESTful transactions and so on. This is what we believe is very, let's say, would be very welcomed in the market because e-prescription projects are not operational everywhere. They are rather starting everywhere. And to come up with this as a base standard where the projects can build on is, I think, very, very helpful. Last, these are the links. Just feel free to click on them and also approach them if you have some certain question or proposal. This, you know, standards community is always an open door. You know, many do not know, but it's actually so. So just drop us a message. And we will respond. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jürgen and Dan.